Hey everyone, happy Pride. It's June 1st when I'm posting this, hopefully, so it's Pride Month. If you've been watching my channel for at least a year, you've probably seen last June I did a video called Star Kid Pride, and it was basically a compilation of every LGBTQ Star Kid moment in all of their shows. I might have forgotten a few, but for the most part it was all of them. And you guys really seemed to like that video. It was very popular. It's kind of one of my first big videos. I was really happy with how it turned out, and you guys really seemed to like it. So I wanted to do a kind of follow-up to that. So I'm doing a sort of ranking, if you will. It's more of a discussion kind of video, not just a normal like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranking like I normally do, where I'm going to rank all the different Star Kid main LGBTQ characters. So how I'm ranking them is not like if this is the best character or this is the worst character. It's more of in the context of how they fit in the LGBTQ representation in Star Kid. So there might be some characters that I like more, I like less, but are higher and lower on this list because that's just how this ranking is going. And this isn't to say that any of these characters are good or bad, or their representation is good or bad. It's just a relative thing. And obviously this is all my opinion, so you guys might think differently. Please share your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure everyone's gonna probably disagree with me on most stuff because that's what always happens with rankings. That's the point, is to discuss these things and share our thoughts. So before we get started, there's just a couple of things that I want to mention that aren't going to be in the ranking, but I thought were still worth talking about. So the first thing I want to mention is I really want to give a big shout out to the Tin Can Brothers. If you guys don't know the Tin Can Brothers, they're not exactly connected to Star Kid, but a lot of the people involved in Star Kid are also involved with Tin Can Brothers. If you don't know, they have two stage shows, scripted stage shows. One is called Solve It Squad Returns, and the other one is obviously Spies Are Forever. You probably know that if you watch my channel. And I really want to give a big shout out to them for their LGBTQ characters. They have done, in my opinion, so far really great. I think what's really awesome about those shows is they show two of the main different ways that you can kind of represent LGBTQ characters. And one of them, which is in Solve It Squad Returns, is just very incidental. So a couple of the characters in that show just mention, oh, I'm a girl, I have a girlfriend, or I'm a boy, I have a boyfriend. And it's just really, you know, it's casual. It's like, okay, that's cool. And that's it. And it's part of the show, but it's not like the focus of the show. And I think that's great. And I think more media should do that because that's how real life is. People are LGBTQ and it's not like a thing every single day that you mention. It's just, it's what it is. It's your life. So there. And the other way to do it, which is what's in Spies Are Forever, this is kind of a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but I think most people on this channel have probably seen it, is a very focused story. So Spies Are Forever, in my opinion, would be a very different show if the main character and the main villain were not gay, because it's just very important to the narrative. Their relationship is really integral to the plot, and it's kind of a specific LGBTQ story. So if Kurt wasn't gay, I think it would have a different message, or at least a diminished message, because it just wouldn't be as strong. So if you want to learn more about that, I actually have an entire video essay about it. Hopefully this is actually where the cards are, because I can never remember. It's all about Spies Are Forever and the kind of history behind it, because it takes place in the 60s, and about LGBTQ characters and that kind of thing. I think it's interesting, so yeah, give it a watch if you want to. This is just a little thing, but I am not going to include Scarfy and the Sorting Hat in this list just because they didn't seem to really fit in, since they're not humans, they're anthropomorphic clothing items, and yeah, I think they're really cute characters, but they didn't really warrant a larger discussion, so they're not in this list. The last thing I want to talk about is something I didn't mention, I think, in my review video. I know people were talking about it when Black Friday came out, which is McNamara, and I also kind of want to mention Higgins too. So if you don't know about Black Friday, kind of the behind the scenes thing, when Star Kid did their, I think it was the 10th anniversary live stream, somebody asked, oh, will there be any LGBT characters in Black Friday? And they said, yes. You'll have to see who it is. And then Black Friday came out, and lo and behold, there were no LGBTQ characters in it. So people were kind of disappointed about that. And eventually it was revealed, I think on Twitter by Nick Lang probably, that the original plan was there was, I guess, a monologue or some scene where McNamara, General McNamara, mentioned his husband, which would have been really awesome and cool. I think that's just a fun thing and would have been a nice touch to have in the show, but they cut it out for whatever reason. I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot and how I feel about it, and it is a little disappointing. I think it's mostly disappointing because they did mention it before, like they said, oh yes, this will be in the show. So if we had never heard about it and they didn't say it was going to be in the show, then it would have kind of been, you know, nobody would have really cared because there was no expectation of it. But because there was that expectation and then it was taken out, it was a little disappointing. It's a little frustrating when that happens in general in any media, but especially in something like Star Kid, which has had a lot of LGBTQ characters, so them saying that and then kind of taking it away from us seems a little just unfair, but you know, life's not fair. I hope that if he comes back in the next Hatchetfield show or in another Hatchetfield project or whatever, that he is canonically LGBTQ, because that's the thing. I don't see characters that are given a kind of word of God identity as canonically LGBTQ, because you just can't really take that, because then the author or the director or whoever could say that about any character. Be like, oh yeah, this character's gay, this character is bisexual, this character is whatever, and we just kind of have to take it. But if it's not in there, then people who don't, you know, follow them on Twitter or read a news article about it aren't going to know that, so it's not real representation to me. And I also wanted to mention Higgins, because I think a lot of people either ship him with other characters or kind of just mention they think that maybe he's gay or whatever. I don't necessarily have a problem with this. I don't think that's like bad. Like, you can ship whoever you want. I don't give a crap. You can have your own headcanons or your own theories or analysis. That's fine. What I think have a problem with is kind of the larger idea that this represents. I think he is, I don't want to say necessarily stereotypical, but I think there's some stereotypical elements to his character that kind of fall into kind of queer coding of villains, which, if you don't know about that, I talk about it a little bit in my video essay. It is a little bit of a problematic history in film and other things where villains are given kind of stereotypical queer traits to make them more villainous. So I think with Higgins, it's mostly he's kind of flamboyant, he's into musical theater, that's kind of a gay stereotype. So I think that might be some of the reason why people do that. So I don't think that's bad, but I think we should just think about when we're making these headcanons and ships and all that stuff, why we're doing it and what kind of we're taking out of that. I think it would be cool to have him be a canonically queer character, but I think we just have to be careful of why we're doing that. If we're doing it just because of the stereotypes or if it's, you know, for a larger reason. So yeah, that's just my opinions on that. So now on to the actual list. I have 6 spots. So some of these are combined. Like, I'm not going to rank every single character in certain shows because they are kind of lumped together. You'll see when we get there. Some couples and things like that are combined. And also, one of the characters I do have split up between different shows, and you'll also understand that. So the number 6 spot, the bottom spot, as much as it pains me to say, is Dumbledore, but I'm only counting Dumbledore in the first 2 musicals. So Dumbledore in a Harry Potter musical and in a Harry Potter sequel, because his character does change a lot between those 2 shows and a Harry Potter senior year. I really love Dumbledore. I think everyone loves Dumbledore. Everyone loves Dumbledore in the movies, and therefore people love him in the show. And the first thing I want to say is that it's awesome that he is openly gay, because we all know what J.K. Rowling does and her kind of, oh yeah, this person is this on Twitter, and it's a mess. So the fact that Stark had actually put that into the show and made him be like, yeah, I am gay, that's awesome, and J.K. Rowling could never do that. So I love that. That in itself is really, really cool. However, there are some more, I think, problematic aspects to his character that are pretty outdated. I think if they made it today, they would probably cut a lot of the jokes that they have in the original show. Just in general, I think there's some jokes like that in their first, 3-4 musicals, but I think it is kind of indicative of the times. This was 10 years ago, so we have to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but it still is, looking in this wider analysis of all their characters, he is comparatively a little bit more problematic. Yeah, there are some jokes about him being kind of predatory, especially towards, Harry and Snape, and it's a little creepy. To be fair, there are also jokes like that with other characters, mostly with Cho Chang and with Lupin in the second one. However, it is much more obviously of a stereotype of gay men, that gay men are predatory, than just people in general. So it does, I think, promote a more negative thing when you do it with Dumbledore rather than when you do it with any other, straight male character or straight female character. It's not horrible, and it's not the totality of his character. So I think there still are a lot of positives to his character, but that is sort of why he was on the bottom of my list. So my number 5 spot is for Cletus and McDoon in Charlotte, Oregon. If you don't know that show, Cletus and McDoon are the 2 kind of villains. They're robbers and outlaws in the West, and they also have a sexual relationship. It's kind of just mentioned in the beginning. There's kind of a running gag about Cletus being in love with McDoon, but McDoon not even realizing it. He just really wants Mouthface, or the daughter, instead. And some of it is really funny. There are a lot of really good jokes, and I think the fact that Corey Doris says that he delivers some of the jokes really, really well. One of my favorites is when they kidnap Mouthface, and he's like, "So you're the other woman, huh?" And it's funny. I think that's a cute line. There are other jokes that do kind of lean more towards the ha ha ha, they're gay thing, which is kind of a tired thing that we see in a lot of especially older movies and TV shows and stuff, where there's not really a punchline. It's just like the premise of them being gay seems to be funny to the audience, and I don't think that's really funny. There's no joke there to me. For number 4, I put Dumbledore in A Very Potter senior year. So the reason I split his character into kind of before and after Michigan is because he is very different. They took out, at least as far as I can remember, there's no jokes in A Very Potter senior year about him being a predator or any kind of thing like that, or him being really clingy. And it's just a lot better. It's a lot less cringy to watch. It's I think just updated, and I think it really shows kind of how they evolved. I also think there's a really sweet moment when he's talking to Voldemort, and he says, it's kind of a small thing, but he says like, oh, I think I know how you're feeling. You're having these feelings and you don't understand, you know, why and all this stuff. I understand that. My family never really accepted me, and it's really sweet. It's kind of a more serious note, and I think in the first 2 shows he really was just completely a joke. Yeah, it shows this other side to him and how being gay affects his life, and especially because I'm sure he's very old. Like, I know in the movies he's like 100 years old, so I'm sure in the musicals he's supposed to be pretty old too. So it is kind of just an interesting glimpse into a different side of his life, and I really like that they put that in there. It's small, but it makes him less of a stereotypical character, I think, and makes him more well-rounded. Okay, so our number 3 spot comes to definitely a fan favorite character, and that is Alice, and by an extension Deb, from The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. I love this storyline. I think it's one of the more serious storylines in really any Star Kids show, but it's even within Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, which is a pretty dark show. Alice is one of the main character, Bill's teenage daughter. She is 17, 18 during the show, and there's kind of a whole tension between them because she wants to stay in Clydesdale, which is the neighboring town of Hatchetfield, with her girlfriend, and she doesn't really want to stay with her dad, and it's this whole thing. So she's a lesbian character, and I think Deb is probably a lesbian too. It's not really specified, but what I think is really awesome about this character, and that a lot of people really like, is that the drama of Bill and Alice's relationship doesn't come from the fact that she's gay, which is something that we've seen in a million TV shows and movies. It's kind of like, okay, we get it at this point. It's not that. It's that he doesn't really like her girlfriend. He thinks she's not good enough for her. He thinks that she's too much of a stoner and she's, you know, a deadbeat and all this stuff, and that his daughter is perfect and she deserves someone better. And there's this really, really touching scene with Paul and Bill where Bill's telling him all this stuff about his daughter, and he mentions, oh, I really don't like Deb, you know, I feel bad because I think we had this fight, and that's probably why she stayed in Hatchetfield and why she's gonna get, you know, captured by the aliens and stuff. But he never once diminishes that Deb is a girl, and he never says, oh, I wish she was dating a boy, or maybe this boy would be better for her. He says, no, there's this girl at my church that I think would be better for her, that's, you know, more upstanding and cool and not a stoner, whatever, like Deb is. And just really shows, I think, the integrity of those characters, that's not the drama. The drama isn't that he's homophobic or anything like that, because that's something we've seen a million times. Like, we don't need to see that in every musical, every movie. The drama is something deeper, and it has to do also with, you know, his divorce from the mother and just greater issues like that. And it's very validating, I think, for a lot of people to see these characters that are very balanced and realistic, and not everything about being gay is a problem about being gay. Like, if you're gay, you have normal problems and normal fights with your parents that aren't all centered around your sexuality. Yeah, and a lot of people really, really like those characters in that storyline. Like, I remember when I posted that Pride video, there's so many comments of people being like, oh, it's so cool how Bill doesn't ever try to set up Alice with a boy. He only tries to set her up with a girl because he knows that she's a lesbian. And I just think it's really sweet, and it really speaks to his character too. Number 2, I'm so excited to talk about because they're the OG guys. It's Coral and Voldemort. They're like the true Star Kid OTP best couple. Everyone loves Coral. I think, yeah, it's such a good, I mean, you can see, I don't know, I hope you can actually read this. I can't really see in the viewfinder, but if you can't, it says okay is wonderful, which is their little quote at the end of the show, and they also bring it back into Harry Potter senior year. If you don't know this show, I'm sure you do if you're watching this channel. You've probably seen a Harry Potter musical. Voldemort lives on the back of Coral's head, but while that's happening, they sort of fall in love and develop this really sweet, like, sincere friendship that turns into a kind of romance. It's very strange, but it really works. It's very, I don't know how they thought of this, how they're like, oh, this guy lives on the back of this guy's head. What if they fell in love? but it works. It works so well. There's a lot of things that I really, really love about Quirrell and Voldemort. One of them is that unlike in Trail to Oregon with Cletus and Macdune, I don't ever think the joke really ventures into that, oh, ha ha ha, Voldemort's gay kind of thing, which would be very, very easy to do because obviously that's not something that's in the Harry Potter books, and it is something that's like kind of not expected, so it would be really easy to just be like, oh my gosh, ha ha ha, Voldemort is not straight? That's so crazy. But really the joke is that it's very bizarre to fall in love with someone who's stuck on the back of your head, because that's weird. Like, that's just objectively weird and funny. They're just really cute, honestly. It's kind of like a really adorable relationship for weirdly two villains. But like obviously there's the whole thing about roller skating and watching She's All That, and just these little like rom-com tropes that you wouldn't expect between two villains, but they kind of throw in there, and it's really cheesy and cute. One of my favorite things about Quirrell and Voldemort, I think more specifically with Voldemort, is that he really subverts the queer-coded villain thing that I was talking about a little bit with Higgins before, where in most cases with queer villains, their sort of stereotypical traits are what make them more villainous. We see this with like Disney villains and stuff, that, you know, men being more effeminate and things like that are seen as kind of villainous traits, and that's what makes them scary and bad. And so Voldemort is sort of the opposite of that, where it is his love for a man, the fact that he falls in love with a man, that redeems him and makes him good again and makes him less evil. We just don't really see that a lot, where the power of gay love, I guess, is what saves them, saves their soul, makes them a better person again. Also with Voldemort is that he doesn't really fit into any really expected stereotypes besides maybe liking to dance. I don't know if that's kind of a stereotype maybe, but not really a strong one. In A Harry Potter Senior Year, they cut out some of it in the edit, but if you have the script of it, which I think might still be available online somewhere for free, in the script of A Harry Potter Senior Year, there is a lot of stuff regarding Voldemort's family when he goes back to meet his dad and the grandparents, with them being homophobic, and it is a very, very humanizing story, and some of the, I guess, more strong lines of it were cut out in the edit, but it's still in there. It's definitely still in there, with them kind of judging him for not doing sports, saying he's like, seems kind of weak and all this stuff. You could see it like really, really affects him, which is something that I think the books are lacking. Like Voldemort in the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter movies is just pure evil. Like he's born of horrible circumstances, and his family is already bad people, and he's murderous from the day he was born basically, and he does all these terrible things and as a child. But Voldemort in A Harry Potter Senior Year has a lot more of a, I don't want to say realistic because it's Harry Potter, but a lot more of a humanizing storyline, where you see, you know, he struggles to make friends, and his family doesn't really accept him, and not just for being a wizard, but also for being probably gay and all this stuff. And I don't know, it's just really nice. And I think they did a similar thing with Dumbledore and with a lot of characters, that in A Harry Potter Senior Year they added more of these heartfelt, deeper moments for some of the characters that weren't as fleshed out in the first two musicals. So that's really cool. There's a reason why Quirrell and Voldemort have become such like an iconic couple within the Stargate fandom, and it's because they're just really, it's a really good pairing. It's very unexpected, but it works really well. It never makes fun of them being gay. It's great, and I love it so much. And as you can see, this is a testament to that. Hopefully you can actually read that. On to our last entry, which, if you haven't figured it out at this point, is really the last one left, which is I'm putting all of Firebringer. So if you haven't seen Firebringer, it's kind of like a queer masterpiece. In my opinion, it is really, whatever you think of this show, I think everyone kind of likes that about the show. So it's cave people, it's mostly women. I think there's Ducker and Smelly Balls are the only men in the tribe, and then we have Grunt is in the other tribes. So there's 3 men and a lot of women, which is, one, just really awesome to see this women-led storyline, which we haven't seen in really any other Stargate show. But 2, all of the characters are kind of very fluid in their sexuality. I'm not an anthropologist, I don't know that much about cave people. That's probably true, right? I don't think cave people were really thinking that much about what they did or what that meant or their identities. They kind of just did whatever they wanted. They were just trying to stay alive and not get eaten by mountain lions or whatever. It just makes for like a really open storyline that I think we don't see in a lot of things, where it's never questioned. Everybody just kind of likes who they like, and has these relationships. It's just really fun. It makes for a lot of fun pairings, and I think pairings that we wouldn't normally expect. And obviously Jamila and Zazzalil are the main pairing in the show, and some people don't think that their relationship is that built up, and I kind of agree. I don't think it's like the most well-written couple, but I don't think that's because they're women or anything like that. I think it's just their story wasn't given that much time in the beginning to kind of develop in that way. I think one of the best examples of kind of Firebringer's larger place in the LGBTQ canon of Star Kid is the scene where Jamila goes off with Clark to go be in the new tribe, and she's like the queen or whatever now, and she has like a million husbands and wives. I think it's really, really fun to see how the audience reacts to that, where she's like, yeah, all these beautiful people are all my husbands and wives, and everyone like goes crazy, and it's just really sweet. Also, I think indicative of the Star Kid fandom. It's just a really LGBTQ friendly fandom, and I think Firebringer is kind of the pinnacle of that. So yeah, Firebringer gets my #1 spot. And Firebringer is awesome. All these shows are awesome. Even the bottom spot, I still think it has a lot of benefits to it, a lot of good points. So that's it. That's my ranking. It's pretty short, shorter than, because obviously usually I'm just ranking all of the Star Kid shows, so there's 11 or 12 of them, but this was just a couple of characters or groups of characters, so it's a lot shorter. Although I've been talking for forever, so I don't know how long this video is gonna be. I just want to kind of wrap this up with talking about the future of Star Kid and their LGBTQ characters and what I would like to see. Please share in the comments what you would like to see in the future, what you think they should continue, if there's any things that you don't like. In the future, I would like to see, one, just more characters, because I always want more LGBTQ characters. I think we should have maybe more balanced male characters, because the ones we've had so far, the bottom 3 of this list were all male characters, so, but I think any gender character would be awesome, which also makes me think of my next point. I think it'd be awesome if we had a trans character or a non-binary character with a trans actor, a non-binary actor, etc. That would be really cool, and I think that could be either in 2 ways. One is like a specific story, more like Spies Are Forever, or just, you know, an actor or character that's trans, like whatever, that's just cool. I think also maybe some more POC characters. So I think so far it's only been Cletus and Tiblin, if I'm remembering correctly. Just more diversity in general. I think they just need to kind of continue on this path that as time goes on, that they've been progressing and making their characters less stereotypical and just more creative and telling these stories that I think are enriched by these characters being LGBTQ. So I'd love to see that continue, and I think it will. I think we're not going on a downward spiral, just because Black Friday was a little bit, I don't want to say of a setback, but it was kind of a blank space in there, but I don't think that means that they're gonna stop putting LGBT characters in their shows. That would be weird. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy Pride, everyone. I know obviously this is a little bit of a weird year. There's not going to be a lot of parades or anything like that, but I hope we can all still celebrate and be proud and really appreciate the people currently and in the past and history that have advanced LGBTQ rights and who are working really hard now to do so. I hope that we all can enjoy some awesome LGBTQ media in this time. I know a lot of people obviously have free time, so consider watching some LGBTQ movies or TV shows or musicals or whatever, or Star Kid shows. There's plenty out there, and hopefully there'll be more to come in the future. Yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more, turn on the notification bell, whatever, like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, all that stuff. Happy Pride, goodbye!